And chat is moving, so I don't think there will be any problems. I should probably pause that so I don't get distracted by my own face. I don't want to see my face. Why do any of you want to see my face? God damn, I got a face made for radio and a voice made for silent films, you know? It's a big problem. We've got a lot of news to cover today. We've got a new mutant strain of monkeypox that we've got to talk about. They're warning of that, a mutant strain of monkeypox, or Mpox. They've sanitized the title of that. With new pandemic potential has been discovered in a small town in the Democratic Republic of Congo, according to research. Just wait till it hits Brussels. Now, we've seen that before. Carrie Lake urging supporters to strap on a Glock ahead of the elections. I myself, disclaimer, do not claim such a thing, but it's interesting. At least she's Glock fam, you know. Glock does it best. I've got 2 of them. Want to get a third one, actually. Boeing just cost United Airlines $200 million. Hee hee, ha ha. I fly on Delta. Honestly, I'm not afraid to fly on a Boeing, though. Let's be serious here for a second. I'm not afraid to fly on a Boeing like a 747 or something like that. I realize there have been a handful of incidents with air problems, you know, like panels randomly ripping off the side of the plane. Generally, air travel is safe, though. I don't really worry about that. Be flying back to the U.S. via Delta. I don't know if I'm on a Boeing or not, and I don't care. By the way, I saved $100. I'll be talking about how great Delta is and why you should use them as your airline. By the way, I am not sponsored by them in any way, but yeah, I saved $100 while actually upgrading my seat across the Atlantic. I was reasonably happy about this. Yeah. Pro-Palestinian protests could foreshadow a summer of upheaval. Oh, good. Another summer of love incoming. Another summer of hate. Fiery but mostly peaceful protests. Yes, indeed. One and done. Scientists develop a vaccine that may fight any viral strain. We'll get into that, by the way, as well as my thoughts about vaccines. I am not anti-vax, to be clear, and so I'll be talking about that. I'm allowed to talk about it on YouTube as long as I conform to the general consensus. Thankfully for them, I actually do in general. Not 100%, though. We can get into that nuance. I think I'm allowed to do that. And now, all Florida K through 12 students to learn about the atrocities of communism. I both support this and don't support this for different reasons. Ideologically, yeah, great idea. People should learn about the 100 million dead from communism. Do I think that public school teachers are the ones that should be teaching kids about that? No, because they'll go in the opposite direction. Sort of like with the drug war. You know, the lame-ass teacher tells you that weed is bad, and then, you know, little Jimmy is smoking weed. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. There's nuance. Always is on this channel. By the way, again, another happy day. No black pills allowed. Mike the Wop. Hi, Tarl. I hate working while you're live. Your European schedule doesn't match me no more. I'm really sorry about that. I will be back in the United States in less than a week, however. We're going to be, there's going to be a big update, by the way, talking about happy news in the intermediate future. Not 100% sure exactly when. And I think that people find that interesting. Mind of a Madman 69. When my family visited Florida to see my sister and brother-in-law, we used Delta all the time. Had a great time in the 90s and the early 2000s. Back in the day, I used Continental because they were the cheapest. And of course, I was a broke-ass bitch college student. But you know, I prefer Delta. The amenities are better than United Airlines, although I would point out for short-haul flights, United is actually better if you're in economy because you have more room. Delta crams you in a lot more if you're in economy, but if you're paying a little bit extra for the amenities are definitely worth it. The Tex Vet. Love you, Sticks, but I hope you will really reconsider your partnership with Jeremy. His authoritarian moral grandstanding is disgusting, and it feels he is using you as his new grift. Just his fans' opinion. I'll follow no matter. I don't think that the quartering is authoritarian. I don't know. Some people have a problem with him. I've never fucking-stood it 100%. No offense to you. I'm not saying that your opinion is invalid, but I've never seen him to be particularly authoritarian. I don't agree with him all the time. And if I don't agree with him when they're on a live stream, of course, I'm going to call him out. But I like the dude. I like his content. Capable of getting along with people that I don't always agree with. I mean, that happens all the time. Now, when you're a content creator, that's a common occurrence. Same with Tim Pool. I don't always agree with his opinion, but I was more than happy to go on his show. Clarity 2199. Please do a shout out to the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum in Blair, Ohio. There's a shout out. Toy and Brick Museum. Plastic Brick Museum. If that has Legos, I would love to see it. I always wanted to see Legoland, by the way. Man, Legos back in the day. Oh, can you remember like the old school Legos from the 90s and stuff like that? And pirate ships and stuff like that. I had 2 of the Armada flagships, which came from like when they had like the Spanish conquistadors. I had 2 of those ships actually at the time. Oh man, that was the greatest set ever. Long hours spent playing with Legos. And I hope to get back to that soon. I fucking love Legos. The old school ones, the new ones suck. Wartooth88, my new party is called the Social Nationalists, or Zannies for short. It involves a last answer. Read my book called I Conflict. Okay, well then you get a shout out too. You've got a book called I Conflict. That's by Wartooth88. Sir Link. In Arizona, you don't need proof of citizenship to vote for federal elections only. Judge upheld it for state and local elections, but not federal. Just saw the Secretary of State webpage. How's that legal? Well, it's not, but that'll be pending further litigation. I have been keeping up with that, by the way, for Arizona. Thomas Weiser, Austrian Airlines is my go-to when flying to the EU. Yeah, Austria is pretty cool. I'd like to see Austria. You know, it's the birthplace of a certain individual, which would be hilarious, and people would probably think that it was very on the nose. Trip Boom, I have to counter. I love the European time. Lol, clank. Yes, some people really like it, and some people really dislike it. I can't please everyone. BW, I wish I could see you do one live with Dr. Turley and debate the state of the New World Order and such. He has interesting opinions. Well, get me in touch with him. You can DM me. If he has a Twitter page, I could contact him. That'd be fun. Mind of a Madman. Were you into Bionics as well as Lego? Bionics. Bionicles, I think you mean. I liked the little comic series that they had, the magazine series. And I did have some of them. But no, I was more into the really old school Legos. I especially liked the one, with like the knights and stuff, and they had like dragons and shit, like from that period. That I think was my favorite. And also the ones where they had, I can't remember the names of these Lego series. They had one where they had like Arctic explorers, and they had orange visors and stuff like that, and ice picks, and they were, I guess, mining crystals in the snow or something. And as a kid, funny story, I used to take them, and whenever the freezer had a lot of ice lining, because it was an old school freezer from like the 80s or something like that. My parents probably got it before I was born. I would set them up in there with their skis and everything else, just to remind them, hey, you need to clear out the freezer. Otherwise, I'm just going to put Legos in it. That was funny. Very fun childhood. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It just matters if you have fun. Wartooth, how did your eclipse rituals go? Mine went splendidly. Yes, mine went very well as well. I have 1,000 shrieking souls locked in one of my crystals, actually. I'll be draining that energy on behalf of a friend at some point. The Nerd Wire. The childhood medical honk-honks in which you speak are entirely problematic. Toxicology reports on aluminium and mercurial poisoning leads to encephalitis, which leads to autism. We're not allowed to, frankly, address that on a YouTube video, unfortunately. Wasted Bonehead, good morning from the grave. Talking about Legos? Nothing beat Lego Lord of the Rings, but that's just me personally. I had a lot of Legos, but my uncle had a friend, and, I got older. I was like 30 or something. And his kid, he was raised poor and really, really liked Legos. And so I gave him my entire collection free and clear because, I remembered, all the good times with Legos and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't really have time to play with Legos at this point, but I kind of want to get back into it. Yeah, I kind of want an Armada flagship from back in the 90s. Absolutely. I had this one. Oh, it was fucking great. I never got the pirate galleon, by the way. I was pissed because I never got the pirate galleon or the schooner. But I had 2 of the flagships and some of the smaller ships. But there was one that was really, really great. I had this ship. It had firefighters on it, actually. And it would float in the water, and totally. It had like literally a solid hull, and I used to play with that when I was in the bath. Man, it was great. Mad Cow. Hamas Ministry of Health, the organization that releases the casualty numbers, just admitted that 1/3 of the casualties were fabricated. Before this, each new day had almost metronomical linearity. UN was tricked. Yeah, but there have still been several tens of thousands of civilian casualties, so it's rather sad. Billy, are you familiar with Varg? If so, what's your opinion on his music and content on X? Again, another example. I don't always agree with him, but I like his music. I like some of his takes. His beautiful family. I mean, he seems to be a really competent father, so I can respect him for that. Funnily enough, Liz actually met Varg at one point. She can tell that story if she wants to. Iron Age Media. Hail Sticks, glad to catch you live. Wanted to say that Anvil Magazine issue number 4 is pre-ordering now. The latest and greatest indie art, pulp, and comics. We'll pop you up there. Anvil Magazine. I'm going to have to read when I get back. I'm going to have to binge read those, by the way. Plaguewin, yesterday YouTube deleted Timcast IRL's 2 most popular videos. Have you also seen this happen to you, or believe this will ramp up to the election? It may, my friend, it may. I have not had anything removed at the moment. This was due to retroactively enforcing new terms for old videos. Yeah, DM me on Twitter. What terms were those? Because that's happened before. We should probably get to some news now that we're 12 minutes in, by the way. So yeah, we have a new strain of monkeypox, unfortunately, from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is neither democratic nor republic, by the way. Some 108 cases of the concerning strain, Clad 1b, have been discovered in Kamituga, a poor and densely packed gold mining town near the Rwandan border. It's mutating, as diseases tend to do. The variant is thought to kill 10% of all people who become infected. Thankfully, if you don't fuck people in the ass, you're probably not going to get monkeypox. It was concerning how many kids came down with monkeypox during the last outbreak after the orgy in Brussels, by the way. I'm just saying mildly concerning. Writing about the virus in a preprint, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, so grain of salt mode, scientists called for urgent measures to prevent another international outbreak. Without intervention, this localized Kamituga outbreak harbors the potential to spread nationally and internationally, the authors wrote. Given the recent history of monkeypox outbreaks in DRC, we advocate for swift action by endemic countries and the international community to avert another global monkeypox outbreak. My suggestion is that if you want to fuck somebody in the ass, you should probably use a condom. This advice has largely been ignored over the last 10 years, especially because there's treatment for AIDS, actually. And so people are relapsing back into potentially negative behaviors, sexually speaking. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, so it's just fucking monkeypox, is a viral infection that spreads through close contact, mainly sex, causing flu-like symptoms and pus-filled lesions. A milder version of Mpox sparked a global epidemic in 2022 when it spread to more than 100 countries, including the UK. There was a reason for that. It predominantly affected gay and bisexual men and mostly spread via sexual contact. No fucking shit. So yeah, I mean, if you want 10% of LGBTQ people to die, you can refuse to address the issue, or you can just get down to brass tacks and you can say, hey, use protection. Maybe don't go to the next orgy in Brussels. Maybe that's a bad idea. But that's politically incorrect to state, I suppose, so. Dat Pie over there. I hope in Florida there's a base teacher that recreates Pinochet's helicopter moment with dolls and a drone or something. That'd be funny. Again, we'll talk about that. I think that it'll backfire, actually. I agree with it ideologically, but not pragmatically. We'll get into that. Wasted Bonehead. Sticks, thoughts on Elon doing a poll on whether or not to restore Vine? I participated in that poll and I voted yes. Could it hamper TikTok in a serious way? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, it would neuter them. I fully agree with bringing back Vine. I'd use it. Fuck yeah. Of course I would. Then we got another news story. Carrie Lake urges supporters to strap on a Glock ahead of elections. By the way, when you use such loaded language, do you not think that the liberal media is not going to take it out of context? And Carrie Lake is used to dealing with journalists. She should know better than this. Carrie Lake, a Republican U.S. Senate candidate and supporter of former President Donald Trump, they had to throw that in there, has urged her supporters in Arizona to strap on a Glock as they prepare for the upcoming elections on November 5th. Lake made these remarks at a rally in Arizona. Lake, a former news anchor, is seeking the Republican nomination to replace retiring U.S. Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Yeah, she decided to cut it loose and said, fuck it, mainly because her own party wouldn't support her, I think. The outcome of this race could be pivotal in determining whether Democrats maintain their slim 51-49 Senate majority. At the moment, I don't know that they're favored to do so. Even in the House, I don't think they'll necessarily retake that as well. Lake's comments were made a day before Trump's trial in New York began over criminal charges related to alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Trump has pleaded not guilty to these charges. I like how half the fucking articles about Trump, it's not even about Lake. Lake warned her supporters that Trump was facing lawfare, a term referring to the strategic use of legal proceedings to intimidate and hinder a candidate. Or anyone else, by the way. She emphasized that the next 6 months would be challenging and stated that Trump is willing to continue to fight for us. And then it says literally nothing else about her actual comments strapping on a Glock. I just wanted to weigh in. I knew that I liked Carrie Lake. She's Glock fam, apparently. I like Glock myself. They are definitely, basically, it's the mean, median, and mode of handguns. There are cheaper varieties like High Point or something, or Taurus, but they're not as good. There are more expensive varieties that have maybe more amenities, maybe a better grip, but, you know, why pay more when you're getting the same overall functionality? My Glock 42 is beloved to me. It's massively accurate, well beyond the short distance you would usually engage a person at, by the way. Glock 17, standard sidearm. I've got I think mine is a Gen 5, so it's a more modern version. Really, really great, highly reliable. Although I will note that there was one instance in which it literally appears to have chambered around simply by me putting the magazine in. That's a little bit of a problem because I don't want to chamber a magazine. But the Glock 42, I mean, it's smoother than butter. So I am definitely Glock fan. And I don't understand. Shaylock, please explain to me how Glocks are ugly. I don't understand it. I think that they're aesthetic myself. Okay, it's the brutalismus of the handgun family, but that's perfectly fine. BW, to be fair, Carrie might genuinely be worried for the lives of her supporters. Yeah, I mean, I know she's well-intentioned, but when you come out and you say such a thing, it's going to be taken out of context. It doesn't matter if that's the context. The legacy media won't elaborate further. Viking Woman, 1988. Listen to Dark Wave tonight, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, with co-host Baphomet Prime on Valley Free Radio, streaming at www.valleyfreeradio.org. Includes interview with Michael Hyson on the Necronomicon. That sounds cool. I've got a copy of that. BW, though, she should have said, bring your power tools. Yeah, always use a little bit of language Creole if you can. Remon C GTC, how to organize a financial illiterate friend. I don't know. It's going to be hard. Most people are financially illiterate. They don't understand investment. They don't understand that you shouldn't massively increase your spending simply because you make more money and you should use that in savings, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it's a lost cause. Corto Maltese, I don't like to watch Jeremy, but an authoritarian? I'm an authoritarian and I don't see it in him. Yeah, no, he's more classically liberal in most senses. He's definitely opposed to censorship, if entirely for self-serving reasons. I've got to say, being in all honesty, as a content creator, I have more of a reason to oppose censorship than the average person because it directly affects my bottom line. I'm not going to fucking lie about that. Of course it does. Mick Adams. Yeah, some of the newer Lego isn't as good, but there are some cool plotted succulents and bonsai sets that are pretty awesome. Yeah, some of the plant-related stuff looks pretty cool. I just like the old school. I can make my own plants with Lego. I also like the ones with Robin Hood. You remember those ones with the dudes in green with the bows and stuff like that? Oh man, those ones were great. QWERTYMAN321. She should have said Colt or Winchester. Jill 00073. I'm always strapped with a Glickman in Arizona. I carry a Glock 42 generally when I'm in public and a Glock 17 in the woods. Radine, I have an 8-inch Glock that's fat. Nice and fat. Got it in my hand right now. It's getting hot. I get the reference. Springfield Pervert, by the way. Springfield Pervert soundboard prank calls. If you want to laugh today, you should probably look one up. Springfield Pervert's 50-state tour or something it was called, and they've prank called pretty much every state. Barra, will Trump win Arizona? 50-50. The fact is that with Arizona, it's going to be tougher because of some of their election shenaniganeering. I think that he will win Michigan. He'll win Georgia, North Carolina. He only needs one more state. It doesn't even matter which one. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, both on the table, etc. Senor Faces. Unless it is a Glock 2021, Kank pistols are better. I don't know, dude. I would rely on my Glock for my life. Salty Keldian, from the desk of Captains. Where's that layabout Andy? I need storage space for my steamy logs. Oh, goodness. Doc Holiday, my Glock 40 Model 22 is the most dependable and accurate sidearm I've ever owned. Good looking, too. Sounds pretty cool. Trip Boom, can I get a shout out to 2 content creators that started to use Rumble now? Nico Ortiz, he does military style humor and fails, and Isaac Butterfield, comedian, and makes fun of the cringe left. Consider that a shout out. Absolutely. Speaking of shout-outs and stuff, I should probably read out the merch partners here. We have pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get various things. You can get amulets, you can get keychains, you can get belt chains, you can get engraved spoons with the Ouroboros logo and clank and all of those things on them, as well as bookmarks also. BiltongUSA.com. Use code STICKS for free shipping, by the way. I do recommend and highly endorse Biltong. It's delicious. When I get back to Rutland, I'm going to be probably eating a bag of it, actually, as soon as possible. We've also got Sticks, Hex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts. Wicked Needle Embroidery.bigcartel.com, where you can get Sticks, Hex, and Hammer hats. You may have seen those in some of the videos that I've made. 2 different variants available in several colors, I believe, actually, also. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, where you can get seed survival buckets. Surviving is relatively important. You can be entered in, by the way, simply by buying one to potentially get all of your money back, actually, for the month of April. That's the monthly contest sort of thing there. There's also soap available. And yes, there is Sticks, Hex, and Hammer soap. It's with clove and with cedar and with blueberry. It smells amazing. The bars that I've got back in Rutland, I think they still have to cure for a few days. We've got websterswares.com/sticks-wares, where you can get Sticks, Hex, and Hammer merchandise. Beanies are available now, I believe. And also on the main website, there's Trump stuff, there's miscellanea, all sorts of cool things. It's sort of like a little mini market, and it's got some good shit. Jamandbean.com, that is JAMN bean.com, where you can get delicious coffee. I recommend the Costa Rica blend, also delicious tea. And finally, MTPew, that's MTPEW.com, where you can get various ammunition. Some of it is newly made, some of it is range brass that gets refilled, of course, and they've got various ammo available. I think there's 223, 556, 9mm, 45, 40, Smith & Wesson. And I think there's a few others available as well there. Some of them I'm not 100% familiar with, so I'll leave it to the experts, of course. So yeah, those are our merch partners. I don't need any more of them. That's a lot of merch partners, my man. Andrew Van Halen, are you a fan of synthwave artist Fazio? I haven't heard of it. Great music, but I wish his stuff was more available than just on Bandcamp. I haven't heard of Fazio before, but I'd probably like it. If somebody wants to send me a link, you or anyone else on Twitter, I'll take a listen to it. Liz likes synthwave too, so you know. Jay Reed, off topic, but any advice on what to do when your religious friend gets mad at you for pointing out her rabbi pled guilty to scamming? Thanks. Just point out that the rabbi pled guilty to scamming and then chuckle at them. Matthew Fox, Sticks, you're right not to watch the Fallout show. It's a hot diarrhea Sunday, appallingly bad writing, mediocre acting, and mutilated source material. That's sad. Yeah. Please don't butcher Fallout. Come on. Can I have one fun thing in the world that these people don't ruin? That would be nice. Art Funk Butter. Hey, brother, do you think we're headed for World War III? Thankfully, not imminently. But unfortunately, we're discussing the possibility. That's bad enough, in my opinion. Jill 0073. Carrie Lake is right about Glocks and the 1864 abortion law in Arizona. I do not support banning abortion. I'm pro-choice with exceptions. I consider myself a moderate on this issue. One day at a time. Oh my God, Spring Creek Pervert is so good. Thank you. Oh, but you have only goddamn grazed the surface. If you want some soundboard prank calls, go over to my BitChute channel, and there's an entirely separate channel, I think, linked to it. I've got a couple hundred of them. Look up bail bonds. Yeah, the bail bonds, soundboard pranks, Duncan, or, you know, Frank Garrett, who actually I called at one point. That was close to the end of his life. And I told him, I'm like, I didn't expect the number to connect. And I'm like, God, you know, you're very well known. You're famous. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. And then he just hung up the phone. It was standard. Jesus lady, drug and alcohol. Oh God, if you go down the rabbit hole of soundboard prank calls, basically the rest of your life, you're going to be listening to prank calls because there's probably so many of them that you could never actually listen to them all. Springfield Pervert is one of the best, but he's not the only good one. Bail bonds is my personal favorite. Muddy Drip 6665. You see the numbers posted regarding people registering to vote via the Help America vote verification. Lots of no matches and dead based on the Social Security admin data, mainly in swing states. Not a surprise to me at all. It's just that the differential this time, you're going to need more than a few tens of thousands of fake votes to overcome the red wave. You're going to need more like, I don't know, a few million probably. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's Meat. Free shipping for your biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. Check out our Denton or Roanoke stores if you find yourself in either area. Clank. Yeah, indeed. Anton is branched out. I'm going to be getting down to Texas fairly soon, actually. I expect to get a good meal there, by the way. You probably cook those wraps there, especially the one with like the curried stuff in it. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, you probably cook them better than I can. So, oh God, it was good. Trust me, I will be there in person. And then I'll leave 10 pounds heavier, probably. BW, has anyone noticed that more and more dogs are starting to have human-looking eyes? No, actually, to be honest. No, I haven't. Salty Keldian. Future April Fool's idea for Anton. For one day, use the following slogan. When it comes to smoked meat, you can't beat ours. Next news story. Boeing's problems just cost United $200 million. Good thing they're a multi-billion-dollar company or they might actually miss it. United Airlines was pushed into the red by Boeing and its ongoing quality issues, the airline said Tuesday. The company took a $200 million hit in the first quarter after the Boeing 737 MAX 9 was grounded following the door plug incident aboard an Alaska Airlines flight. By the way, I would like, first I'll weigh in on this. And then I'll get to my thoughts on United v. Delta. Those are two of the big ones. With regards to this, I talked to several people in the aeronautic industry, and they assured me that it has nothing to do with the actual manufacture of these planes. It really has to do with maintenance. And I tend to trust news tips that I get from the clankers because they tend to be reliable. If it was just one person, I might say, well, maybe you're paid to tell me this. But when it's like 3 or 4 people that are all in the airline industry, yeah, I tend to trust that. I have a feeling that they're not paying that many people just to tell me not to make another video on the subject of Boeing aircraft. While there may be structural integral issues, and I did have one individual that did tip me off to the fact that indeed, at least at their manufacturing plant, there was a rushed process. It seems to be more about maintenance than anything else. There was a picture somebody showed me. It was, God, what was it? Kazakh Airlines or something like that. I don't even know if that one was a Boeing. And if you looked at the wing of the plane from above, it's like, how the fuck does this thing even get into the air? It's that terrible. And some of the airports are better than others, by the way. I think the best airport that I've been through is Fort Wayne, which I will thankfully be traveling back through on my way to the United States. Fort Wayne Airport. This is Detroit's airport, by the way. Detroit is a shithole. The airport is fantastic. It couldn't be more efficient. It couldn't be better than it already is. It used to be the main hub for virtually all international Delta flights, by the way. They moved it mainly to JFK to get it, I guess, on the coast. They cut time off people's travel or something. It's harder to go through there now. Fantastic airport. There's you don't have to take any transit or anything. I mean, you can. It's available. But you can literally walk under the tarmac through this massive ass tunnel that they've carved out between the two main terminals, arrival and departure, basically. And I mean, it's fantastic. They've got every amenity you could possibly want is there. It is completely streamlined. It's nice and clean. It's very orderly. And it's literally in the Detroit area. And I don't know how they pulled that off, but their airport is superb. 10 out of 10. And so now my thoughts on Delta v. United. I flew United when I went on Timcast because they booked it for me. And I will say for United, the main amenity that they have is that in economy, the seating is longer. So like a person like me, I'm 6'2". I've got abnormally long legs. When I sit down, I don't look like I'm 6'2". I look like I'm normal height. When I stand up, people sometimes they get surprised because, you know, my legs are where all of the height is. Yeah, you can see them for yourself. Some of you will probably be excited at that. But they have more room. If you're going to go economy, you want to go United. Absolutely. If you're willing to spend a little bit more, you got to switch to Delta because it's simply got more amenities. With Comfort Plus and up, yeah, you get the complimentary drinks, which, you know, if you're into that, that's a thing. The food is better, admittedly so. The staff are very courteous. I like Delta. I have brand loyalty when it comes to flying with Delta. I've never had a bad experience, nor a bad experience with United, but it's just when I've been on United flights, it's just a little bit more bare bones, if that makes sense. I mean, no offense. I mean, it's not a bad airline or something. It's reliable. I've never had any cancellations like I fucking did back with Continental back in the day. But it's just a little bit different. And so I'm pleased to fly with Delta. And anytime you can save $100 and upgrade your seat, yeah, you know, that's a pretty fucking sweet deal. Yeah, I when given the choice, I'll fly Delta. Brock Sampson 71. Why does the media and most YouTubers fillet Israel? It's like they're subservient to the Zionist state. Your thoughts? I am neither Team Israel nor Team Palestine. I'm Team United States. To an extent, Team Netherlands, because Hup Holland, I suppose. I don't have strong feelings on the issue. I think it's all absurd because it never should have happened in the first place. I think that there are people out there that are unwilling to criticize Israel because they're afraid that the ADL will label them a Nazi. In all honesty, it's literally nothing more than that. They're afraid of getting censored. I'll criticize Israel, but at the same time, shoe on the other foot. If you don't criticize Israel, so you stay out of it because you're like, you know, I don't give a fuck, then you'll be called a Zionist by other people as well. You say, oh, well, you're a Jew lover, or something like that. And it's like, you know, you can actually have a nuanced opinion on these issues. I don't want Palestinians or Israelis to die. You know, I have no problem with Jews. I have no problem with Palestinians. And I don't understand why anyone would, actually. The average person over there, they just want to farm olives or something like that. Who the fuck gives a shit? Big boy. Sticks, did you see Tim Pool's take on the changing YouTube algorithm and retroactive policy enforcement? I did get an email from YouTube with regards to the change to their algorithms. Please DM me if you've got more details on what the fuck is going on with YouTube right now. I'm in the dark. I have no clue. I mean, I'm paid to make content. I don't have the time in the day to keep up with all the goddamn TOS enforcement. But I'm sure they would love to ban lots of people on the platform. Absolutely. Captain Spire, Nebraska is pushing a consumption tax, removing all property income, inheritance, corporate, and sales tax. It has been tried in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Canada with poor results. Well, while I would love to get rid of the property tax, again, I think we can have a little bit more nuance than that. Money Drip 6665. The data is collected weekly and the numbers are very high. Texas alone had 30,424 no matches and 4,515 dead registered to vote. That's in 1 week. Please look at the data. Even Tim Pool is concerned. It won't flip Texas, but they'll try to flip Arizona through that methodology. Iron Age Media, in a different industry, but I'll say that it's not just Boeing neglecting maintenance. Most major corps have been doing it to inflate their stock price. Jill 0073. Carrie Lake is against Arizona's 1864 abortion law. Says it's too extreme, and I agree. Carrie calling for AZLEG to go back to 15-week ban most agree on. Good for her. Stephen Nizek, Team United States, no more Team America for you? Did Trey Parker get too protective of his movie to allow it? Well, colloquially, America and the United States tend to be used interchangeably by Americans. Just saying. Music and fiction. Detroit Wayne County was the main hub for Northwest, which Delta bought. Northwest was good for quality, and it reflected in their hubs. Oh, I love the Fort Wayne Airport. And I'm going to be getting some of that Po' Boy's Cajun fish, by the way, from Popeyes, because you can't get it in the Vermont. Okay, once in a while, I'm allowed to have fast food. I mean, just look at me. I'm allowed to have some Po' Boy's fish and some Cajun fries. I will allow that of myself. RJB917, headed to Flick the Bean this afternoon. The Chicago Bean, that is. Wish me luck. Dodging bullets. Clank. Have fun flicking the bean, I suppose. My goodness. Brock Sampson 71. Which Fallout is darker in your opinion? Fallout 3 or 4? Technically Fallout 4 is darker because there's really no right answer at the end of the game. You're either effectively causing your son to die, although I have an opinion with regards to whether the sole survivor is a synth or not. I think I've talked about that before. I think that the sole survivor is a synth for multi reasons. Either consigning him to death and destroying his dreams, even though you literally set out just to find him, or you're potentially, reigning over a weird authoritarian, almost communistic sort of group over the Commonwealth. So there is no good outcome. In Fallout 3, it was much more simplistic. Start the goddamn Project Purity. Everyone gets water. Then the only thing is, do you want to kill off everyone with mutations or not? Ta-da! Otherwise, everything else is perfectly kosher. Fallout 3, ultimately, in the main quest line, was, even with the add-ons, was more simplistic. Fallout 4 really does have more nuance. It's much more involved. I've done all 4 of the factions for that game, and there is no right answer, really, other than the Railroad tends to be the most universally wrong one, because you can save the synths without their help anyway and side with the Minutemen. The Brotherhood of Steel has some good ideas. They have a point. The Institute has a point. They have some good ideas too, and they are the last best hope for humanity when you think about the technology involved. If you restart the reactor, you can almost put yourself in the frame of mind of the character and think, wow, now we've got unlimited power. We can do whatever we want. We can expand. We can begin rebuilding things above ground too. But then the Brotherhood of Steel also has massive air superiority. They run sorties constantly and help to defend the people of the wasteland, even though sometimes their methodology is not necessarily great and they fucking hate the synths, and you are ingrained necessarily in the quest with Nick Valentine generally to side with synths. You're like, oh, well, he's a synth, but he's pretty fucking cool. He's the best companion other than Kate. And Kate's only the best companion because she's a badass bitch. So yeah. I'm really hoping that Fallout 5 has as much nuance as Fallout 4, is bigger, and has a beefier settlement system. That would be one of the greatest games of all time. It'd definitely get Game of the Year, assuming it's not Glitch City, but it's a Bethesda game, so we'll see. Noreen Sutter just wanted to say thank you. Love your informative content. Thank you very much. Much more to come. Next news story, pro-Palestinian protests could foreshadow a summer of upheaval. Why do I get the feeling that this is effectively them speaking it into reality? Like that's what they want? you know, an Israel v. Palestine, but it's not in Israel or Palestine. It's in the streets of Manhattan or Los Angeles or something like that. I have a feeling that they're going to cause problems on purpose for political reasons. Just saying that it might be another summer of love sort of event. I think things will boil over. Unless this war is tamped down and a ceasefire is agreed to and everything else, I think that tensions will spill over. You know, it's hot weather. People are sweating. They're outside constantly because they don't want to be indoors in that weather. And then they just start punching each other and things spill over and they become very bad. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. And I'm not openly predicting that it will. I'm just saying that I leave open the possibility that they're going to try to antagonize Jews and Muslims in the United States, people who are more pro-Palestine, people who are more pro-Israel. I have the feeling that they're going to at least entertain the concept of antagonizing them into attacking each other, mainly for political reasons. That would be great for the election for the liberals now, wouldn't it? Always think of who benefits from any particular thing happening. Nobody benefits in Israel or Palestine from what's happening right now, do they? Other than the Hamas leadership and the government of Israel, who else benefits? Raytheon, Boeing, ironically enough. Yeah, they lost $200 million at United, but Boeing is doing perfectly fine. It doesn't matter if their commercial flights are fucked. They still develop things for the military too. So don't worry about them. Their jobs are assured. Brock Sampson, all factions have good points, except they tend to be extreme in their views. Minutemen are the most balanced and my favorite faction. Yeah, the problem with the Minutemen in the vanilla game, without mods, of course, is that they fucking suck. They can't fight. They got like they've got laser muskets, energy muskets, and they've got, sometimes they've got little 38 weapons or something like that. They're a weak faction. And if you side with them, then you always are constantly compelled to go around from border space to border space where they've set up their checkpoints. Anytime that you're anywhere near them, they're going to be under attack and they'll lose. I mean, you can loot the bodies or something like that, but it doesn't feel too good. Brotherhood of Steel, meanwhile, they'll post dudes in power armor. The Institute will have Gen 2 synths. Gen 2 synths are fairly sturdy. They're fairly good at fighting. Gen 1's not so much. You can basically punch them in the head and they just go over. And the Railroad will have both agents and heavies. So the heavies have, well, literally heavy armor and heavy weapons. Sometimes they even have energy Gatling guns. But the Minutemen suck without mods. With the, I can't remember the name of the mod, but if you look up Minutemen mods on Nexus, you have to have that. There's no other way to side with the Minutemen. I do agree with that the Minutemen are the most natural as far as what I would side with. Like if I was in the real world and it were Fallout, I'm the sole survivor, I would do everything to convince my son, come on, dude, fucking come with me. This is crazy shit. And there's still hope for mankind, but it ain't here. And then I would side with the Minutemen. That's what I would do. Of course, he'd probably say no. And he's dying anyway. Spoiler alert. Yeah, your kid is going to die regardless of what you do. It's a real happy game. There's no darkness in there at all. Honestly, though, I don't think the Railroad really has a good point because even when you side with the Minutemen or even the Brotherhood, you can save the synths. So if that's your goal, why bother siding with the Railroad? Afterwards, if you've sided with the Minutemen, as long as you did the evacuation code, they're still in with you and still respect you. So that seems the most natural course of action. Suck duck. Pro, not my tax dollars. Dr. Claw, MAD. Albert Pike, World War I to World War III. I've read some Albert Pike works. Wasted Bonehead. Sticks, you're wrong. Dog meat is the best companion. Yeah, but he couldn't be your companion because he'd be chewing on your bones the whole time. I do agree dog meat is pretty cool, but honestly, you're not allowed to fuck dog meat now, are you? Ironically, I think you can actually fuck Nick Valentine, I think. I'm not 100% sure. There is some gay relationships available in that game, by the way. Swamp Donkey. Did you ever play Metro and like Fallout Stalker, but in Russia? It's a good game, not as open world as Fallout or Stalker. Never heard of it. I really like fully open world games where I can modify as much as possible. That's why I like the settlement system in Fallout 4. It was a huge advancement over 3. where you can only have your player housing. I spent half of the goddamn game in Fallout 3 just manually manipulating items and decorating my house in Megaton. It was one of the most fun parts of the game. It's like, wow, I can literally bring anything back to my house and put it anywhere that I want, and it kind of makes it feel more realistic. But in Fallout 4, it's on steroids. You can have like display cases. I've made entire museums there. Like you go out on a mission and you loot somebody and you have all sorts of cool shit, and then you put it on a mannequin or something. BW, how do you think SCOTUS will rule on immunity trial that starts today? I have absolutely no clue how they're going to rule on that one. On this one, I have to take a hands off. I don't know. They've been, it's difficult. I don't know. It's 50-50. Iru.com. Hey, Sticks, I tried contacting you on Twitter several times for a month, but got no response, so I'll try here. Do you mind sharing your email address? I do not generally give that out unless it's for business purposes or somebody that I know in real life. Because otherwise, it gets completely massively cluttered up because I have to get notifications and stuff too. You can DM me on Twitter though, and I'll just identify yourself as iru.com or iroa.com. My apologies. And I'll try to get back to you. The Grizzly, what's your take on the anti-Trump protesters being led on, the jury, and the trial? Why is this continuing to be allowed by the state? Because it's persecution. And they probably will find him guilty in that trial. Vermont 802 for the win. Around 2012, did you ever hear about the human skull they found on the side of the road in Danby, Vermont? Also, ever spend much time in Tinmouth? I have been through Tinmouth, but I've never spent time there. I don't know that story, but I do know the story of Gravedigger. And this was told by Mr. Pluta, who actually was the driver's ed teacher at Mill River, and I think probably still is. And by the way, his brother taught or teaches math at Castleton, or did when I was there. Good teacher, fun dudes, a couple of good, the good teachers, the ones you show up for class because they're not assholes. The Plutas are pretty cool. And he told us the story. It was some kid back in the 2000s or 90s or something. And he was found guilty of, he dug up a corpse and he turned the skull into a bong. Actually, he was smoking weed from the skull of this, and he got put in juvie because of this. He's called Gravedigger. And the funny thing is, when he told me that story, I thought that I had already remembered that story from somebody that told me it before. So it must be a local phenomenon or something. I don't know. But no, I never heard the story of the skull they found by the side of the road in Danby. By the way, please send no more super chats because we're going up on 50 minutes. I do have a couple more news stories to get to. I'll just gloss them over, but please do not pay me any more money. I'm actually asking you not to pay me. Yeah. Most content creators won't do that, by the way. The Grizzly, what's your thing? I did that one. Mind of a Madman. Would you be interested in Dark Souls or Elden Ring? Possibly. I don't know enough about him. Stephen Nizek, Institute. I inherit sins. Brotherhood of Steel breaks my stuff. Railroad steals my stuff. Minutemen protects my stuff. Simple as. Yeah, that is one advantage. You can side with the Institute, but still be the leader of the Minutemen. So you're like, well, long term, the surface is being stabilized. We've got this hub down here with infinite power and all of this technology and stuff. Cross-train. And also, your son, Sean, does express interest. If you read his computer entries there at the terminals, he expresses interest in trying to get another sort of settlement system going, like a sort of a council between the Institute and the leaders of the different places developed up above, like Megaton and so forth. The former attempt having been failed because they sent a synth in, and the synth malfunctioned. And originally, it depends on the canonical storyline and who you talk to. You're led to believe initially that the Institute sent a synth in, a courser, to slaughter everyone, to destroy, the settlements on the surface. You learn from Sean that's not the case. It actually was just a malfunctional synth. It went rogue. And so it wasn't actually the Institute's fault. So they did have actual good intentions in mind. But when you talk to some of the leaders, some of them are, on board with trying to help people, and some of them are just a bunch of fucking assholes. But this is the fact with literally every faction of the game. So there is no right or wrong, and Bethesda did a good job of developing that way. Tigers are my totem, $5. Thank you very much. Jim Morrison, as an original Gen X, all this World War III stuff these days is nostalgic, and doing it Gen X starts in 61, as long as you had younger parents. By the way, I'm going to have to go offline because I believe my wife just got back. So I'll peace out. I'll be live tomorrow. My apologies. That's about all. Peace out.